Good morning, Rabbi Isai. How's everybody doing? Good morning. Today's shir, Lidi Nishmas, Imi Ruspas Mordechai. Once again, our very good chaver, Stephen Sakala, is back in the hospital. So, Refuah Shlema for Simcha Nachum Ben Yehudas Dasi from the MDY Chat Chevra. Sponsored anonymously by Kalman of the Five Towns, the most anonymous guy in the shir. In the Shmooze of Menachem Mendel Ben Simcha in honor of the Minyanim Chesed initiative, send email to, I'll explain in a second, K. Milberg, Kalman Milberg at Gmail, but kmilberg at gmail.com, and we'll add you to a WhatsApp group. Get out of your comfort zone. Says Reb Kalman like this. On a recent share, you talked about getting out of your comfort zone as it related to Torah learning. The same can be said about mitzvahs. Baruch Hashem, we're blessed with so many organizations to help people in need. Hatzalah, Chaverim. What about Minyanim? There can be an oval out there that needs a 10th man, a small me that needs a 10th man, a new shul. Kalman is a big Bal Chesed. For someone to say Hajj, they're just missing one. Be the one that will make the minyan. We're piloting this in the 5 towns in Brooklyn, but no reason this can't be anywhere in New York, U.S., or Eretz Yisrael, worldwide. Isn't that a... My Machrein Ambassador, New York, U.S., I thought it's the same thing. I thought New York is U.S. All right, fine. Rabbi Isai, yesterday I was on my way to record the first 8-minute daf in a very, very long time, and I received this beautiful email from Elio Berger. He's an attorney in Lawrence. Rebelli, as one of your 18 original YouTube viewers, in other words, he's with us almost for 3 years, 2.5 years. I want to sponsor the daf in honor of making a siyum Shas this Sunday, November 8th. Unbelievable. He's making a siyum Shas, tremendous simcha. Now listen to this. I started participating in your shiurim way back when your YouTube channel was called Daf Yomi, and your backdrop was a large metallic tzedakah box looking machine. He did me a toiva and he sent me a picture of myself with one of the shiurim back in the day with that machine is the machine that turns on the air conditioner. You put in money and the air conditioner goes on. A lot of shuls have it in Eretz Yisrael. We had the key, so we never put money in. I'm so excited and the least bit surprised that Yeshurim have exploded in popularity and available in so many different formats. So he was one of the guys that started it all. One of the 18 Rishonim. I travel a lot for business. I'm so happy that I can download your podcast, watch your YouTube, or join live on Zoom. We met briefly in my Beis Medrash in Harborview in 2019. I was going to offer, he spoke to me then about a podcast. I clearly lost out on that opportunity. If there's any inspiration others can gain from my siyum Shas, it is. Listen to this, Rabbi Isai. 3 beautiful points that he points out. Follow Rabbi Fran's guidance he gave at this past siyum Shas at MetLife Stadium. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good. Like many who were inspired by the incredible, unprecedented 12 siyum Shas in 2012, I started Daf Yomi with brachas. 2012, not this cycle, past. I fell off track again, and again, but got back on each time. I am now finishing well over 8.5 years. Everybody finished Shas in January. He's finishing now. Took him 8.5 years after I started. With Hashem's help, if I can do it, anyone can. Tremendous. As a practical tip, use a checklist. Check or mark all the dafim you learn. Anytime you fall more than 3 daf, he has his own little sheet. He's mechulek on me a little bit. Mark the ones you skipped and then follow with the daf of that day. Okay. And finally, number 3, follow your slogan. It's all about the Yomi. As an aside, the emails you read by each share to enhance your share. The new bookmark system you have on YouTube is perfect. Compromise for those who want to give a reason. Finally, you are a significant part of the Simcha. I wish you were able to attend in person. I'm happy that you're back home in Israel and return to your regular schedule. Do your shiurim. Thank you for all that you do. Yo, Berger, best regards. Now listen, I called him up. I told him he's probably the first one that I ever called from the emails that I received. Called him to wish him a tremendous mazel tov because it's tremendous simcha. And it came at a perfect time when I was struggling getting back on the bandwagon as well. I didn't do the 8-minute, who knows how long. And he gave me chizuk. He fell off, but he's finishing Shas. We're going to continue with the 8-minute. So Baruch Hashem, I got the 8-minute out last night. Here he is. I asked him if he could send me a picture, so he sent me a picture. This is Elio Bergman, if you want to know. Great lawyer in Lawrence. Some of you guys know him. Here he is, watching yesterday's shir. Tremendous, tremendous mazel tov. I don't know what happened to David Agal. I know that he's watching the shir, but did I not hit my streak of 365? It should have been already, I think. All right. Rabbi Isai, real quickly, we are working. It's time to start working on the siyum. Usually we start 3-4 days before. We're doing something. We're going out of our comfort zone, and we are starting 2 weeks before, a little less than 2 weeks. So it promises to be an amazing. Last siyum was unreal. We're not promising that it could be anything like last siyum. 500 and something different locations. Same idea, but rather than people sending in small videos, what we decided to do is we want to get to know people better, and those 100 videos were great. We want to get to know people on a more intimate level, and we want to follow maybe, let's say, 10 different people that are heavily involved in the shir. The behind the scenes of these people, get to know them better. If you have any suggestions, you want to know about a certain person, send it in. We'll try to follow certain people that you guys suggest. So we're going to do it professionally. Send video crew out, follow, interview kind of thing, 3 minutes per person kind of thing, and that's one thing. We have beautiful things. One of the ideas was we want to see your local Eruv. Maybe we'll learn a halacha too about your local Eruv. By the way, I'm looking at Rabbi Avram Schwartz from England. I was talking to some guys and they said they would like to see Rabbi Avram Schwartz behind the scenes in England. So I don't know if you're masking or not. I'll talk to you. I don't want to put you on the spot, chas v'shalom. But anyways, here he is on Zoom. He's there every day and he's a very chashuv person from England. Anyway, the whole kashrus thing and whatever. So if you're willing and able to do your local Eruv thing, not a 45-minute thing, like a clip, 3-5 minutes, whatever it is, and we'll learn some alachas, we'll learn a little bit about yourself as well. Please let us know by this Monday because we want to limit the siyum. We don't want to do a 3-hour thing again. We want to make it more, and we want to know what we're dealing with, how many minutes. So once again, if you need help with your location, let us know. If you need to know where to go for your siyum, let us know. But it's the same kind of format as last time. If you want to do it at home, great. You want to be inspired with other people. You want to go to the oil of the Rebbe, Shlomi Klein will organize that for you in Crown Heights, etc., etc. Belarus, you speak to the Belarus, but if you need to know how to get in touch with those people, let us know. Rabbi Isai, here we go. We are holding on Daf Pei Ches Amud Beis. V'chein shtei dutoi zu keneged zu, 4 lines from the bottom.
Rabbi Strasser is on, the one we spoke about yesterday.
Oh! Shalom Aleichem. I don't see him. He's in a different screen. All right, we'll have to get to him soon. Rabbi says, so we were talking yesterday about 2 upper level houses. We didn't show this picture, we showed the Yoni one. So you have 2 stairways that go to these houses. One of them has a cesspool, the other chutzner does not have a cesspool. So it says that the guys that don't have a cesspool cannot use the other one's cesspool. Says Gemara Amar Rava, even though there's an Eruv between the 2, this is the Havamid of the Gemara, there's an Eruv, and they can carry within the Chatzeros, cannot use the other person's cesspool. Says the Gemara, wait a minute, how does that make any sense? My time. What are we concerned? They're going to overflow the cesspool. But we learned, achasli uka, achasli gistra. It doesn't matter if it's a uka. What's a uka? A cesspool. We learned a new word, uka, cesspool. V'achasli gistra. Whether it's a broken vessel, in other words, it doesn't hold that much. Breicha, says Rashi, shoisim ledagim, a koi pan. These fancy people, they have a picture. Or, what's the next word here? Va'areva, a toy boat, says Rashi. You have both of them in the picture. Here you're having your chutzner, a little pond, a little boat right over here. I can fill this up with water, even though it's already full from Erev Shabbos, keep on filling it up. In other words, we're not concerned of overflow of the cesspool. We're not concerned of overflow of the tiny little baby boat. Even though it's full of water, you can continue pouring. Your intent is not to have the water leave your chutzner. Your intent is to pour it here. It doesn't fit. But you're not trying to get it. The whole concern is that you might come to pour water in Rosh Hashanah. No. By you going over to your toy boat and filling it up with the water, you're telling yourself, be careful. Don't go and pour it in the Rosh Hashanah. Pour it in toy boats. Pour it in your pond. Pour it in a broken kli. So in Mela, it doesn't make any sense that if they have an Eruv, what should be the problem? Why can't I use your cesspool? Because you made it, but I have an Eruv with you. We're shutfim now. Elo says the Gemara, Itmar Hochi Itmar Omar Rava, top of Daf Peites Amud Aleph, Lo Yishonu, Elo Shalei Yirvu. We're talking about that these guys that live next to each other and they share a courtyard and there's a cesspool on one side, there's no Eruv, because they don't share the courtyard. It might be open to each other, but they don't share it. Here's this guy's cesspool, this guy cannot use it. Aval Eruv Mutarim. So, if they made an Eruv, they are mutter to use it. Says the Gemara, why not? What's going on here? These guys made their cesspool pretty close to where they need it. They could even maybe pour it right over the porch right in here. These guys might come to carry. There's no Eruv. And if you allow them to use the cesspool, they're not going to just pour it in their chutzner and let the water drain off into the cesspool. That might ruin their chutzner. They're concerned it's going to make their chutzner muddy. So on Shabbos, they might come to carry a vessel full of water, and that's problematic. So therefore, we're geyser, they cannot use it. Even if they pour it in their own place. So we say, Hadran alach, Keitzad Mishtatfin. Hadran alach, Keitzad Mishtatfin. Hadran alach, Keitzad Mishtatfin. Reb Moshe Zered is here. Wow. Okay. Shalom Aleichem. Brand new Perik. Where's my buddy? Oh, here he is. Shmuel, that's you. Shmuel iPhone. Shalom Aleichem. What's that? All right. Here's the guy. Yeah. Yes.
Yeshua wants you to move the binder behind you. Bothers him.
Which binder? That white one?
Yeah.
In middle of shear, you want me to get up and move a binder?
He really wants you to do it.
Okay.
He messaged me for the last 10 minutes about it.
I got it. You know what? I have an idea. Hold on a second. All right. Here we go. Sugar, people with the things. You know what? Baruch Hashem, he doesn't have the ability to hack around in the middle shear. Says the brand new parak. Called Gagoy Seir Rishus Achas. All the rooftops in the city are considered one domain. Meaning, we're familiar with the famous Reb Shimon that says a Gag, a Karfaf, a Chotzer. These are places that people don't really use very much. Who uses a rooftop? So since you don't use that much, they're all in one category, all the roofs. We're not talking about Reb Shimon, we're talking about Reb Meir now. We have three shitas. We're going to talk about Reb Shimon in a second. All the rooftops are one. They're open to each other, one rishos. So here, a bunch of rooftops, let's say, I could carry from here to here to here, not a problem. Ubavad, shelo yegag, gavoya, asara. And the chidushes, take a look. Different people live underneath these roofs. It might be a nice flat roof on top, but you have resident A, B, C. So down here, obviously, there are different rishuyos. Yet, on the roof, they're considered one. However, if there's a height difference, it's not one plane level. It's 10 tefachim taller than the other guy. That becomes a problem, and the Gemara says because it's a special gzeira. I might carry something like that in Rosh Hashanah, but not because it's an actual issue. Says the Gemara, says the Mishnah, Shaloi bavad shaloi gagovay asori nomach asora. Divri Rabbi Meir. That's the sheet of Rabbi Meir. We're going to go into it a little bit more in the Gemara. Say Chachamim, but since down below they're owned by different people, so the roof is owned by the guy below. So it creates individual rishuyos. And what? So how much could you carry in an individual rishus? That we're going to have to see the Gemara. There's machlokes. Maybe you could carry the entire roof because it's individual, or maybe no, it's like a rishus rabbi. You could only go 4 amas in every direction, but that's it. And here's the famous Reb Shimon that we had a number of times in the Masechta. Reb Shimon Omer, echod gagois, ve'echod chatzeres, ve'echod karfifiyos. I'll show you the picture. We had it already in Masechtas Shabbos. Whether it's a karfaf, an enclosed area that's less than 2 saw. How much is 2 saw? Not like that guy over there that we had yesterday, 2 saw. That's the amount of seeds. But 2 saw in this case is 70 amma, 70 amma. Less than 2 saw. To a chotzer, to a gag. I could go from here to there without stopping. This might be owned by somebody else. We're all one. It's all one giant rishus. However, there's one rule here. If a kli started out, let's say you had a bike hanging out over here in the karfaf, so I can move the bike from the chotzer, well, I don't know, bike, I'm not going to go into it, a ball. Karfaf, you can bring it from the karfaf to the chotzer to the gag. However, if that ball started out in your house, that's another type of category. Your house. So the ball, says the Mishnah, takes on the rishus, becomes like what it is, where it is, Erev Shabbos. So if the ball is in a karfaf, so now you have a karfaf ball. A karfaf ball could go from a karfaf to a gag to a chotzer. But if your ball is in your house, now your ball is a house ball. A house ball cannot go from a house. It might be able to go to your chotzer if you make an eruv, but that's it. It stops there. It cannot continue on to a karfaf and a gag. Says the Mishnah inside, but not to different vessels that had a shvisa inside the house. Says the Gemara, Yosef Abaye Barovin, not the famous Abaya, the Abaya, the son of Oven, together with his brother Rebbe Chanino Barovin, 2 brothers sitting and discussing Torah. The Yosef Abaye Gabayu, and the famous Abaya overheard this conversation. He was sitting there. Yasvi and they were saying, as we explained, the Rabbanon makes a lot of sense if the houses underneath, the apartments underneath are different ownership, have different ownership, so the rooftop's also different. What's going on with it? Let's understand Rebbe Meir. Where did he come from? Now I cheated, I told you the end, I told you that there's a gzera, but they wanted to understand logically, why is it okay to go from one roof to the other? That's impossible that he holds, like Chachamim, that the rooftop goes by the individual houses that we have. I don't want to stop in the middle of a sugi, but I just saw Moshe Hirsch on Zoom, and I want to say, Moshe, he's doing a wonderful thing together. I don't even know the whole background, but I think Ari Bloom wanted to do this as well, and I saw that he was helping out. They're starting this week the first newsletter. It's going to be a great way to be mechazik the chevra, hear about different simchas. By the way, Jonathan Stefansky had a grandson. Who else? There's a bris from Yossi Rubinstein. We got to put these things in. But anyway, different. And then another person said that he has a piece for children. It'll be a nice thing to get to know everybody. Different things, the different shtickle tire that 1 or 2 guys from the shir will give, etc. It'll be a beautiful thing. Today is the first one, volume 1. Stay tuned. Sign up for it. Givaldik. Anyway, if Reb Meir holds like Chacham, like we just said, the svara, that's a big problem. Am I Rishus Achasin? So then why does Reb Meir allow you to carry on the rooftop? If he's going with Chacham svara, it's different residents, different rishuyos, different ownership. You have to say he holds that there's no division on the roof. The roof is one long roof. They call it malo masor rishus achasi. Rabbi, I mean, if you ever been on an apartment building roof, I don't know how many of you zoicha, but think about it. You have a nice flat roof. Underneath you live 10, 15, 20 people. I don't know what. It looks flat from here, but there's a lot of different people underneath. So, Elamai, you have to say that the roof is one rishos. So if it's one rishos, so who cares? In this picture, this red building is taller than the white building by 10 tefachim. Why does that make a difference to me? Explain to me why in the Mishnah they make a big deal out of 10 tefachim. Nami. Then what's the difference? 10 tefachim. Abaya overhears this. What? You didn't hear this? Because Remeir is l'shitasai. If you find two domains, that are identical within each other. They have the same name. Vehem Rishus Achas. Rishus HaYachid within a Rishus HaYachid. And the Gemara explains, Kigoin, Amud Rishus HaYachid, Govaya Soro, V'rochav Arba. Here we go. This is a guy's backyard. In the middle of his backyard, a lot of people have it. They build a little, I don't know what, for barbecue, let's say. So here's a little beam, 10 tefachim tall, 4 by 4 wide. In the middle of your backyard. So you would say to yourself, so what? Everything within my backyard is my backyard. It's Rishus HaYachid. No, says Reb Meir, no. In fact, it's usher for you to carry on Shabbos from within your backyard onto your barbecue counter. Why? Also, l'katev olav, you're not allowed to readjust your load. Gzeira mishum tel b'shus harabim, because look, it's very similar. Kol Hashan did a beautiful picture. The same exact barbecue counter that you have in your backyard, you could have in middle of Rishus Harabim, and you might come by mistake to put something you'll think, oh, I did it in my Rishus HaYachid, so I could do it in my Rishus Harabim. And that's obviously a Sederaisa, going from Rishus Harabim to Rishus HaYachid. Because it's 10 tefachim tall, 4 tefachim wide. Let me just ask a quick question. We have to think about it just for a millisecond. Why is this a Rishus HaYachid? Where are the walls? Every Rishus HaYachid needs walls. The answer is, what is going on here? I see Steven Sokolo. Let's not call him Steven anymore. You see him on Zoom. Simcha Nachum, I don't know. He's in the hospital. Simcha Nachum, you're watching? If you're watching, turn on your screen. I want to see what's going on. Maybe it's a kid or something. Who knows? Fine. So,
he's watching from the hospital.
So we got to see him with the whole hookup and everything. It's gewaldig. It will be a tremendous chizuk for the olam, and somebody take a picture of it. We'll put it in the new, in next week's newsletter. Anyway, fine. So gzeira mishum tel b'Rishus Harabim. This is gzeira. In fact, you should be able to carry from your Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaYachid. Over here, it's a special inyan because you might confuse it with a Rishus Harabim, a tail, a beam. Oh, so I was in the middle of asking, why is this Rishus HaYachid? The answer is good asik mechitzah. Don't forget about that because we're going to be discussing this today. The alach Moshe Messinai that these walls extend upwards. So you have 10 tefachim down here. Those 10 tefachim actually go upwards. So you do in fact have walls surrounding your Rishus HaYachid on top of this beam. Hachinami gzeira mishum tel b'Rishus Harabim, says Abaye to the two brothers over here on the rooftop. The reason why I cannot go from the white roof to the red roof, or vice versa, is because this is similar to a beam in the middle of Rishus Harabim, and I might come to carry Rishus Harabim. So what if I have a table for my barbecue in my backyard? It's 10 tefachim tall, 4 tefachim wide. What, so I'm not allowed to take something from my backyard and put a bottle on top of my table? Oh, the Gemara asked the question. So what about, what is it called again? Machteshes, where you pound. This is an enormous one. I thought it's like a little bowl, a mortar, what is it called? Mortar and, it's 2 words. So this one is a 10 tefachim one. I didn't know they make it that big. Maybe for caterers. Maybe Fischl has one of these mortar and pestle. Yeah, mortar and pestle. Fine. So sava afilu machteshes vafilu gigas. Even if you have a barrel, a garbage can, what you can't put on top of it. No, that's not a problem. He said it, something that's stationary, something that's permanent, and a millstone in the middle of your backyard. It has a kvias makam. It's permanent. We'll ask Gemara, but is there anything more permanent than a wall? According to what you're saying, you shouldn't be able to climb over a wall in a backyard. What about a wall? If you look into a mayor a little bit, you'll chap that what he's saying, and it's very important to understand this. This is time, before we get to the question, this yisoid. Gagin Rishus La'atzmon, Chatzer Rishus La'atzmon, Karfiv Rishus La'atzmon. What does that mean? Reb Meir takes the 3 things and breaks them up. Not like Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon says they're all one. I go from a Chatzer to a Karfiv to Gag. Reb Meir says no. Category A is Gagois. All roofs are one. So I could go from roof to roof in the entire neighborhood. You know, they have these different places. I don't know, in Brazil, let's say. I go from one end of the city to the other, just jumping from roof to roof, running away from the cops. You know what I mean? That's not a problem. With the stuff that I stole, of course, in Shabbos, whatever. So I go from one to the other. But I cannot go from a roof to a karfaf, because that's already category B. Category B is karfaf. So I could go from karfaf to karfaf to karfaf, but not from karfaf to gag. And chotzer is category C, let's say, and I could go from chotzer to chotzer. But ask the Gemara, if I could go from chotzer to chotzer, because they're all considered one rishos, my lab, the shorel tatu derech kaisel. Oh, so I could carry above a wall. I just climb into my neighbor's backyard with my soda, whatever it is, and go. What he's saying is that he's not carrying over, he's carrying through. There's a hole here in the wall, there's a petach. And that's why he could. But to go over a 10th fachim wall is problematic between two chatzeres, according to Rameir. Says the Gemara, brand new sugi. So we learned that every rooftop is its own domain. Says the Gemara. So we have a machloikis here. How much could you carry? Itmar. Rav Omar Eimetalton boy Elo bedalid amos. What's going on here? Rav says as follows: all the rooftops are one. Mine, my neighbors, everybody, they're one. So what is that called? That's called that there's a part that's open, part is the makom ha'aser. It's open to another place. I didn't make an error with the other guy. So I'm open now to something that's also for me to do, to go to. And in Mela, they're all aser. Now, if something's also for me to carry, I'm in a Rishus Rabbim. How much can I carry in a Rishus Rabbim? 4 amos. I could go 4 amos. So Mela, that's the problem here. Shmuel is going to invoke good asik mechitzta, which is a tremendous chiddush. Why? When you have a flat roof, he's using a wall that nobody sees. It's an inside wall in an apartment building, and he wants that wall to break through the roof and go to the sky without anybody noticing that there's a wall below. Nevertheless, Shmuel says, good asik mechitzta, and the Gemara is going to attack it a little bit and see if it works. B'mechitzos, says the Gemara, b'mechitzos ani karois the kuli al meloi pligi. There's no machlokes at all that if you could visualize the walls. Here's a picture. I don't know how well the Olam could see, but there's a gap of ear here, says Rashi. The Kol HaShan did a beautiful job of good asik mechitzta. Here's an invisible wall going upwards. You see how beautiful they did it? It's sort of invisible, but it's not invisible. Beautiful. So if the buildings are separated, and you could actually see the wall when you look at it, and Rashi says when you're on the roof, you look down, you see a wall beneath you. So that's the classic case of good asik mechitzah. Everything goes upwards. So there's no machlokes. Even Rav agrees that I have a wall, I have an invisible wall, and my roof I could carry here, you could carry here, more than 4 amos, the entire roof. You don't really need another picture, but it's here. Why not? I don't know if you see. There are about 1,000 pictures so far in Masechet Eruvin for Kol HaShan. Here are the buildings. There's no separation, no gap. One flat roof. You go on the roof. This is every real estate owner's nightmare. These flat roofs. They're a fortune to replace, and you have to replace them every 10 years or whatever. Terrible. So you have a flat roof from go here, but when you're walking in it, you don't see the apartments below. Nevertheless, here's the machlokes. Rav says you don't see below, you don't see a wall. Where's the good asik? Why should I do a good asik? We always learned, you say good achis mechitzta, you have a wall and a sukkah, 4 tfachim, a goat, but you see the wall of the sukkah, so you continue going down. Over here he wants to say there's a sukkah inside your living room, and that wall pops out through and goes all the way top. Shmuel says no. I could say good asik mechitzta. Rabbi, you don't say it in this case. You're allowed to carry the entire roof. Tanan. So we're going to turn to Daf Yomi Beis, sponsored by Dr. Alan Listhouse. In memory of my mother, in memory of my mother, Shendel Bad Aaron Hirsch and Bracha, and sponsored by the Austin and Tobias grandchildren, Lil Nishmas, Zissel Bas, Chayin, and Neshama Shadav and Aliyah. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah. Last time we turn to Daf Yomi Beis. Now, in other words, we want to understand that according to Chachamim, everyone could carry on their own roof. L'chari, that's what it means. Look at the lashon, rishus la'atzmai. It doesn't talk about 4 amas. Every roof, it's its own individual domain. So in a domain, I carry my domain, you carry yours. Bishlam Shmuel Nicha makes a lot of sense according to Shmuel that you say good asik mechitzta. There's an invisible wall, an imaginary wall, and therefore I could carry, I have 4 walls. Great. Elul Rav Kasha, but why? How does it fit into Chachamim? According to Rav, I could only carry 4 amas. L'chayra, Chachamim say you could carry the entire roof. Amrei Bei Rav Mishmei the Rav, so we have to answer in the name from the Talmidim of Rav. In the name of Rav, Shelo Yitaltel Shtei Amos Begagzeh Ubeis Amos Begagzeh. Very simple. What it means, Rishus La'atzmoi, is not saying that I could carry on the entire roof. Fakert. It's saying Rishus La'atzmoi, don't carry to the other roof. It's another domain. So even if you're carrying less than 4 amas, you just want to step over the border. I just thought about a Geshmak HaMais, I have to tell you real quickly. I said this a long time ago. My father-in-law was a head and neck surgeon. He was seeing one of his patients. He did surgery. They called him out in the middle of the night. They said the guy smashed his whole head. Smashed into smithereens. Came, he fixed him up. A few days later, when the guy woke up from his coma, my shver spoke to him and said, what happened? He said, I'll tell you, Doc, me and my buddies were on the rooftop. And what happened was, we were listening to the radio. And the radio fell between the 2 buildings. And they were drinking. So they decided to lower him down into this hole to get the radio. They tied a rope to his foot and they lowered him down. And he was just about to get the radio. And the other guy that was lowering down, his phone rang in the house. So that was the end of the Maisa. He went to get the phone. All right, anyways, that's the story. I don't know, when else do we have this case of, and even a picture of the two buildings, like the little gap over there. Fine. And then the phone rang. I did not prepare the story. I was like, as we're thinking, I was learning, like, wow, yeah. So you hear the teretz. The teretz is, Rishus La'atzma means, stop, don't go. This is another domain right over here. You can't cross over within the 4 amas. It doesn't say anything that you can carry more than 4 amas. It says, don't cross over even if you're only walking 1 amma. From here to here is usher. Forget the 4 amas. 4 amas is in your own domain. You have up until 4 amas. But when you're crossing to another domain, you have less than 4 amas. You can't cross. So this is not so important to us. In Bavel they said in the name of Rav, from the Talmidim of Rav, but here's the problem. The Talmidim of Shmuel, they have a brisa. And this brisa is problematic to Rav. Why? It says, Ein lohen elo gagon. That you're only allowed to walk on the entire roof. Doesn't it mean that you're allowed to have the entire roof? Forget, where did you come up with Dalet Amas? You're allowed to carry on the entire roof. Says the Gemara, you're asking me a question from a brisa. We just addressed the same exact question a second ago from a Mishnah. So you didn't tuif anything. You didn't gain anything by bringing me a brisa. Whatever we answered on the Mishnah, we're going to answer on your brisa. Is your brisa stronger than a Mishnah? A Mishnah is always stronger. And we already established that you cannot go from one domain to the other, even if it's less than 4 amas. That's what it means. Not that you have the entire roof. We'll say the same answer on the brisa. Says the Gemara. Omer Rav Yosef. So once again, this is the 5th time in our Masechta, and I looked it up. The next time it's going to happen is all the way in the Darim. It's not like every Masechta has this. Rav Yosef was sick and he forgot his learning, and Abaye reminded him. It happens to be in Eruvin, we had it at least 5 times. I think one of them was like a secret one. So when I did the search, I remember it was different words even. But anyway, at least 5 times. Rav Yosef was sick. He forgot his learning. And last time we had a beautiful insight. Rashi tells us and reminded us that Rav Yosef got healthy. He later remembered all his learning, and as he was remembering his learning, he was able to contradict Abaye, as we see in this sugya as well. So, what's Rabbi Yosef impressed with? Shmuel's chiddush. It's a tremendous chiddush. That what? I could say good asik mechitzta. I say I have an imaginary wall, and I don't even see the outline of the wall. It's underneath my roof, and I don't see it. I don't know where it begins and ends. Did Shmuel really say this? Oh, Rabbi Yosef, it's such a pella, it's such a chiddush, and I don't ever remember hearing this. Okay, so once again, it's Abaya, the Talmud. Every single time it's Abaya. You're the one that actually told it to us. Remember, in Rav Yosef later on, his last 2.5 years of his life, he became Rosh Hashiva. And l'chayra, if you're Rosh Hashiva, that means you have to know all of Torah. You can't just say, "Oh, I used to know Torah." They can't make a senile Rosh Hashiva. It doesn't work like that. He has to be holding. So Baruch Hashem, Rav Yosef got his Torah back. So Abai is reminding, he says, "Listen, you told it to us. Not only do you not remember it, but actually you told it to us. Gag Gadol has somuch l'katan." What was the case? You have a large roof next to a smaller roof. And we had an extensive sugya, not about rooftops, but about chatzeris. Remember, a large chatzer that goes into a small chatzer. And those same principles that we learned there, we're going to learn here. Gifufe, I don't know if you remember the concept of gifufe. Anyway, we'll talk about it in a second. Agadol mutter v'akatan asur. So here's a picture. Once again, the larger roof goes into the smaller roof. If you look closely, you see the outline over here? You basically have 4 walls minus this opening. So because you have 4 walls, but those 4 walls only work for the larger roof. If you look at the smaller roof, he only has 3 walls. Therefore, for the larger roof, we're gonna consider this opening, this gap over here, as a Pesach, as an opening. So he in fact has 4 walls. So Mamela, it's mutter for him to carry. Not only could he carry into the small roof, because the small roof is just the opening, it's a room from the large roof into the small roof. But the small roof cannot carry anywhere because he has a wide open gap, and a wide open gap is no good. Says the Gemara, Hagadol mutter v'akatan asur. Because for the small one, it's not considered an opening. There's no visual over here that you have these 2 gifufe, as the Gemara is going to call it soon. You see that there's a wall / an opening, but over here there's no opening. It's wide open. He never made a cutout for a door. The big one has a cutout for a door. And on that you told us, Omar Shmuel, in the name of Shmuel, we're trying to see the Rabbi Yosef know this halacha, Rabbi Yosef know this halacha of Shmuel. They could say imaginary walls extend upwards even in a place that's not recognizable, where there's no outline of the wall. Says Rabbi Yosef, and it says Abai, you told us. It's very interesting Gemara. It shows how people remember things, and maybe you don't know the whole thing, you don't remember, but you take words and pieces and you try to build something out of it, and sometimes you don't build it the right way. Amar Shmuel lo yishanu elo sheyesh diyurin al zeh v'diyurin al zeh. Abaya heard the word diyurin. He remembers the word diyurin. So he assumed that Rabbi Yosef meant back then, if I'm trying to recall something, think about it. Rabbi Yosef asked him a question, I don't remember the Shmuel, and on the spot, boom. What did he hear? He heard the word diyurin. It's habitable. Oh. So, l'chayra, you, Rabbi Yosef, was telling us halacha that when there's people living on the rooftop, the havila hadakata mechitzin addresses. So therefore, here's a great picture from Kalal Shon, a guy with a black hat, mamash a Haredi guy. People walk back and forth. And what happens is when they walk back and forth, they see the guy with the hat, he gave him a black hat even. It's unbelievable. The detail. Chas v'sholom if you didn't have a hat. Anyways, on Shabbos and not a hat on the roof, it's a big problem. So, he's walking back and forth. By walking back and forth on a roof, you ruin the good asik. Because you're telling me there's an imaginary wall there. But people ruin it. They're constantly walking, so they take away your you can't imagine walls when people are walking right through the wall. I'm not saying that you can't have an imaginary wall when somebody walks there occasionally. But if it's the middle of a sidewalk and thousands constantly walking back and forth, you can't put an imaginary wall there. It doesn't work. So memelo the havila the cotton mechitzin addresses, and then it becomes there's no wall. That's what Abaye wanted to say. That has to do with if people walk there or not, and if the people don't walk there, then because he heard the word diurin, then they're both mutter. You have mechitzas everywhere, all around, for the small one and for the big one. Good asik mechitzta. So that's Shmuel saying, no, there's mechitzas. They pop up through the ceiling, through the roof, and make mechitzas even for the small one. Amalei, Rav Yosef all of a sudden started to remember. I'll tell you what I told you. If there are in fact mechitzas, like in this picture, you see there's mechitzas everywhere. The gadol mishter begifufei, the katan nifretz b'melay. Then the let's see if I have a picture of it here. A little bit of a. Here's the mechitza. So gifufei. You see how it extends upwards. We'll make a good asik out of it. Gifufei. It has wings. It looks like a wall. The katan, but if you're standing in the small one, looking this way, no mechitza at all. So it's nifratz. It's wide open. MMA you can't use it. You can't carry there. However, if both of them don't have mechitzos, shneim asurin. They're both asur. Says Abaya about the urin, but I do remember, I recall a word diurin. I don't know, I don't remember what. I thought you meant to say that people walk on it, don't walk on it. The mechitza in the dresses. So he says, very interesting. It's amazing to see how, like, the train of thought. He says, you know what? I also don't remember some, but if I did tell you the word diurin, it doesn't really fit into what I told you now. But perhaps what I said is, this is what I told you. Nothing to do with people walking back and forth. It has to be a proper wall. Something that makes it habitable. So it's a mechitza ruya l'dira al zeh, mechitza ruya l'dira al zeh. The gadol mishnei begifufei, then the large one, it's as if he has a cutout of a door because he has gifufei, he has these wings. The katan nifratz b'meloi. So what's very interesting is the small one. Since the small one, I don't have a picture, but we don't need a picture. Since the small one doesn't have these mechitzas, okay, they fell down, they're ruined, whatever. So what the small one is doing is, at the end of the day, they built a mechitza, but it's not roi. Why did they build a mechitza? By them building a mechitza, they're not removing themselves. They're not removing themselves from the whole equation here, and therefore, they make it aser. Because of like, Avayesh mechitza rui l'diro ala gadol. Ve'ei mechitza rui l'diro ala katan. Afilu katan shari l'vnei gadol. So, but if there's only one out of the two, for instance, one out of the two, there's a mechitza on the gadol and not a mechitza on the katan, afilu katan shari l'bnei gadol. Then it just becomes an extension because the mechitzas are only on the large roof. The smaller roof doesn't have mechitzas at all, so the small roof becomes an extension to the large roof and it will be mutter. My time, since they didn't make a mechitza, they remove themselves completely from the equation. And now we have a tremendous chiddush. If can you
clarify if the Pesach is more than 10 amos, why for the gadol it's still okay?
Oh, who said it's more? I don't know if it's more. I don't know. As I was reading, I did think about it. It's funny how you think like me. I don't know. I'm going to say that it's not okay. We have to go back to that sugi over there in the chutzner. And we did talk about tanamas in that sugi. It's the same idea, same concept. Perhaps it's the problem.
Okay, discuss it.
What?
I think the Rishonim discuss that.
Here? No, so what do they say? Don't tell me it's machlokes Rishonim.
I know, I think the Meiri says that it has to be
less.
Even if it's bigger than 10, you still have to have Amud Meruba ala parot. But I don't know, I'm not sure why that still works.
Amud Meruba ala parot.
More wall than...
Yeah, no, I know. I'm trying to think if it fits into what we learned there. Yeah, l'chayr we had that as well. Amud Meruba ala parot. Yeah. It's a concept that we had there, 100%. Chazara, Rabbi said Chazara. Says the Gemara, okay, so now that we have this idea, I think we're going into a trend that as it turns 8 o'clock, there's always a kasha or something at 8 o'clock. But okay, Givaldik. We have this idea now, this concept of svara thing that a person could remove himself, be moichel. He's mevatel himself to something else. So if so the guys that don't have a mechitza, they didn't build a rooftop. They can't access the roof. It's going to be dangerous for them to go. So they never showed they had any interest in the roof. Therefore, their roof becomes bottled to the larger roof. Okay, so if so, we have a chiddush. Few chiddushim here. If you have a bunch of rooftops and you yourself built a ladder to get up to your roof, but you're the only one in the neighborhood, look. Very interesting. After I made the first arrow, I realized that the Kol Hashan did better than I thought. Here's the ladder that he made, but he also put a ladder sideways on its back. In other words, there's a sulam kavua and the sulam sheni kavua. There's a guy could get up to the roof, but he didn't make it out of metal. Look, this nice black steel. He has a real way to get up there. So what happens is huta b'chol hagagim kulan. Then he controls the entire rooftop, because basically everybody else is saying, we don't want anything to do with that roof. We don't go to the roof. The roof is yours, it's only yours. You took full control of the rooftop. Amar Abaya, therefore, Bona Aliyah, Agabi Beisoy, V'asel Fanel Daka Arba. So the same thing would apply if you built a room on the roof, and you had an opening from your roof to from your little room. In Eretz Yisrael, it's very, very prevalent, this thing. People build a room or something, and they have a way to access the roof. They take control of the whole roof. I'm not saying that's the alach here in Israel, but in general, fine. And nobody else built rooms there. Nobody else. But that's not the case in the reverse. Even according to a mayor, that all rooftops are one. In this case, when a person shows that his door is to the opposite side, he doesn't want to go out onto the roof. So he ruins it worse than it would have been before. If he didn't build any door, then all the roofs would be the same. But since he built a door that shows his intent, and his intent is to look at his garden, down here is tarbitza, then he ruined it. His door is actually bad for him. It's for the garden. Damrina on top of that tzaddik Amud Aleph, linturi tarbitza hu davido. Now he did a reverse action, which shows I don't want to go to the roof, I only want to look at my garden. Mainly he's usher to go from one roof to the other. Had he not built any door at all, it would have been mutter, according to Rameir at least, to go from one roof to the other. According to Chum, anyways, it's usher. Have a wonderful, wonderful day and a great Shabbos. Yishar Koyach. Shem Alex, Mamakim Kosicha Adonai.
Imchas l'chol aman tivarei. Yivisena kivsana shiva livroch halti. Nafshilad mishamim laboiker shamim laboiker. Yachali shalo Adonai kimanai chetzav arbei ma'ifdu. Doiv tes Yisrael mikol v'netzah. Achinu kavei Yisrael nishim asar v'shivam dememi amavim v'avasham akum v'achavlem v'cham fe'ela meshibat l'gula hashtabarot makriv v'malamei.
Welcome with Shmuel to Zoom. What? Oh, Motzi Shabbos. Should we do 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock good? Motzi Shabbos? I don't hear anybody. How about 7:15 to match the morning? 7 o'clock should be fine. I think Motzi Shabbos is like 5:30ish. They have Avos Abanim. It was invented here. What do you mean? Gedaliah's father is on. This is dangerous. One more day, it's a chazaka. Oh, he has COVID? That's right. Oh, David Feinberg. Is it really 365? Anybody know if I have 365 yet? 365 days straight. You're the statistician. You should know. If I didn't miss a shear in 365 days.
Days 306.
No, I didn't start in brachas. I started in nida.
No, but he didn't say till that day that he.
Hey, Yoel, if you say one more word, you're not going to get a slushie for me. No more Slurpees. What's going on here? What is wrong? Oh my gosh. That's right, y'all. You know, hey, you're risking a Slurpee. You're risking it, y'all.
On the plane. Ali on the plane. Ali, check out dafbrama. They have great principles for you.
What do you say? Great?
Check out dafbrama.com.
Oh, yeah, I know it. I know it very well.
Oh, you know dafbrama?
Yeah, but I don't have permission to use their charts or anything. They have beautiful stuff.
Eli, I just sent you all 40, not all 40, 20, the first 10 from Daf Mem to Daf Nun. Check it out, and you have a full script how to give a share. It's ready, done.
Well, man, that's even worse than that guy that wrote me the email about my.
No, take the script and do your work. It's there. I'll send it to you now.
Okay. Shalom V'racha v'asazach Shmuel. It's a little different than YouTube, no? It's different matzav.
Yes. Have to get used to it.
And
The time is the killer. But I'm thinking out loud here. If I ever go back to doing a second shear, I think it should be early morning in New York. Like we have over here, 7:15 in the morning in Eretz Yisrael is Matzliach. I know that some of you guys, Yisrael Goldstein is saying no, and Eli Deichman is. But you know what? You guys will roll out of bed early. It's geschmack. What?
We all go to the same share in the morning.
Uh-oh.
Eli Deichman, the Yisrael goes. We all go to the same share.
But you go to shear then. Who, Yeruv?
Yeah.
Every day you give shear? Wow. Mask.
Eli, you also have the Israelis that can't come in the morning, that only in the evening. That's good for them. So having in the middle of the day is not really going to help.
Yeah, but I don't want to. I'm not trying to target the Israelis. I'm trying to target the Americans. Help the Americans out. But I'm not helping the whole Bar Park Oilam.
The guys in the middle of America and the West Coast.
Mark, I know what time you like to get up. That's why you're trying to do the West. Don't West Coast me, Mark.
He's not up at 4 o'clock in the morning. No, listen.
in Chicago.
Yeah, no, you can do the late o'clock. You can do the late.
What are you dining?
You remember the paint thing?
The what?
The paint and
You can do the Nate's
paint
share
and
called Nine
anything.
and Tzena.
It looks like your head is the beginning. It's like sticking out of your head. It looks pretty stupid.
I was told.
But then someone asked me why you putting stuff on your Gemaras. I thought you were gonna tell them what it was. I didn't even realize it was a binder because I was seeing it on the big screen.
Yeah.
You call me the closet YouTube. I listen to YouTube in Holland. In Holland, seriously, after 3 times, that's why I put the YouTube on. That's why I watch this here.
This guy, Elio Bergman, he was telling me yesterday, he wanted to take the record. Some other guy already has the record. But he said that he learned in Cuba, I don't know, he was telling me all these crazy countries that he watched this year. He travels a lot, and he's this year, but I don't know. I don't know what the record is. Some guy said he was in 20 different countries. Bismillah Harlem. Over there you have to be a closet guy. You can't. Do me a favor, sure. Hit this. You want to stop it? Just hit the X.
You have 16 people still watching.
Really?
Yeah, still 16 people on.
The 16 people on YouTube still. Yeah.
You can't get the files out.
His mask. Anytime he comes into the room, I have to tell him 45 times to put his mask on. Slips off. Yeah.
If you're looking for your folders, it's behind you.
They don't even know what's in your folders.
Yeah.
They don't even know what's in there. Show them.
Climb behind you and start taking them out.
Why is it not making noise?
Good news about my grandfather.
Yeah.
I just got it.
Hold on, give me. Yeah.
Oh,
That's very good.
16 people on live, so.
Not trying to make light of
I
your
can